Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Album Fight Club. I am your host, Mike Kane, along with my co-host, Cody Constantine. Cody, how are you?
Man, let me tell you, Mike, I'm doing fantastic. How are you today?
I'm good, and that's great to hear that you're fantastic. And we've got a fantastic matchup today because it's kind of an interesting one. First of all, it's not exactly the metal bandwagon we followed for many episodes up to this point. I know we did Pink Floyd, but much of what we've covered has been pretty decently heavy metal. And on top of it, we are not doing studio albums. We are doing two greatest hits albums. But the reason that I was so interested in this matchup here is because, one, the band in question, the Eagles, is one of the most prolific classic rock bands of all time. But more interestingly, at least from a historical standpoint, is that they were 4 albums into their career and decided to release a greatest hits. And we know with hindsight that literally they released many albums after that, which eventually led to a second greatest hits album. So we have Eagles Volume 1, which is songs from their first 4 albums. And then Eagles Volume 2 is songs from their next 4 albums. So 8 albums total. Now, again, I chose this because, one, I really like the Eagles. Cody, I don't know your opinion about the Eagles. I would love to hear it. But the Eagles is a band I've been very familiar with. They're actually, if I'm not mistaken, my mom's favorite band of all time. So I grew up listening to them. Of course, you turn on classic rock radio, and eventually you're going to come across one of these songs we're going to talk about. But, I mean, their pedigree is strong. I think they've got a great catalog of stuff. I really can't fault the Eagles for much. So I think their music's pretty good, and we're obviously going to get into that. But Cody, what's your perspective on the Eagles?
I really like the Eagles. That's it. I think in the kind of Rolodex of rock and roll music, if you can call that a thing, Eagles are a band to where you can both attribute being able to pull from their high success and also their lower periods. And you can really look at the best way to use, kind of like to make a template for song structure, songwriting, learning how to mix, learning how to set instruments in their own place. I think I wanted to mention this. It is interesting that you brought up the greatest hits thing, because doing this exercise, listening to these 2 greatest hits records back to back, there's really no other band in history that kind of could have pulled this off, right? If you look at Zeppelin, eventually once you get through to In Through the Outdoor, and then you get into Coda and all those records, it's like, yeah, it's a little more not art house, but like you're not really selling greatest hits. Foo Fighters have 1 greatest hits record. That's everything pre-Wasting Light. I can't even really name a bigger Foo Fighters song in the last 5 or 6 years. So it's amazing to look at the Eagles and go, all right, 4 records in, yeah, let's sell this thing. And then, a year later, we just wrote Hotel California, the record. And so now we've got a little bit of an issue on our hands.
But here's the funny thing, is that as much as I like the Eagles, I'm going to make this claim. I don't think they have a great album under their belt.
No.
Which may be a strong opinion, but they've got a ton of great songs. All 20 of these songs we're about to talk about, I think, are pretty great. There's a few I think are good, but a lot of this is great material. But when you listen to the albums that each of them are on, you're like, yeah, these songs are great. But then all these other songs that didn't make the greatest hits, they're just kind of whatever, right? Even Hotel California, which has been lauded by many as like one of the greatest rock albums ever, I really don't think is that great of an album. I think it's good, but the idea that it's like top 50 even, I'm like, no. Now, the song is a different story, which we'll get to very quickly here because it's the first matchup. But Cody, is there anything else you want to say before we get into the track by track?
Let me tell you, more bands need to utilize the Eagles' structure of vocal harmonies. Listen to these songs with a good pair of headphones. Like I own a pair of like Sennheiser mixing headphones, and to hear 4 different voices do the Beach Boys thing, essentially, where you've got a high mid, a low mid, and then a bass. Hearing all of these voices come together and their interesting choices in these vocal harmonies, it is fantastic, and it adds so much structure. So if you take anything away from listening to the Eagles, man, teach everybody in your band how to sing, and make them have a register, find it and utilize it, because that's just one extra thing you can utilize to create a range of depth on top of, your normal instrumentation.
Yeah, there's a Case song on Volume 2 that sort of very much is the harmony thing, which we'll get to. But like I mentioned or alluded to, the first matchup, Take It Easy versus Hotel California, the song. Now, Cody, maybe just in general conversation, we've had this conversation, but I think somewhere on a previous episode, you might have mentioned that your viewpoint of Hotel California, and again, if I'm misquoting you, let me know, but your viewpoint of Hotel California is that it's overrated. Am I correct or incorrect?
I think it is. I do believe it is overrated, but only in the kind of epicenter around Mount Rushmore of being like, this is one of the greatest guitar songs of all time. I think as a standalone song, though, fucking fantastic.
Yeah, so my viewpoint of Hotel California is that I'm one of those people that thinks it's one of the greatest songs ever written, and I can't quite define why, which is the weird part. It's one of those magical dudes went into a studio, made a song, and they literally made one of the greatest songs of all time. It just works on like every level. Yeah, the story or whatever narrative it's spinning doesn't quite make sense, or not that it doesn't make sense, but it's mysterious, it's elusive, it's not clear, and people have argued for decades at this point what the song's actually about. But even whatever it's about, like, it still works on so many levels. The musical intro, the boom boom, and then going into the vocals, it like, I do it every time I tap the table or I tap my steering wheel. I'm just with it the whole time. The chorus is epic. The guitar solo at the end is iconic. Every part of this song is just like fantastic. But I could say the same thing about Take It Easy, just for a lesser standard, right? Because Take It Easy is not nearly as popular as Hotel California. No one's throwing Take It Easy in the Mount Rushmore of rock songs, whereas Hotel California is being thrown in there. But really, there's nothing wrong with Take It Easy either. They're two pretty different songs, right? One's more upbeat and radio friendly, whereas the other one's more of like a rock epic, if you want to call it that. So this is a tough matchup for me because really I can't fault either one, other than like, hey, maybe Hotel California is too long, or Take It Easy isn't epic enough. But for me, I think I just have to go Hotel California. It just kind of has to be that way in my viewpoint. It's just the pedigree. It's just the iconic status this song holds. Really, Hotel California against a lot of songs here, I think just takes it. There's a few Case songs where I think other ones might edge them out. But in this particular matchup, I really don't think Take It Easy can take away the victory here.
Well, so I think the best way to describe what you said about Hotel California is that you can't pin it down, is that it mixes so many influences of almost in a way like world music, right? The bass line and the rhythm guitar have this little like reggae feel to it, when I don't think reggae would have been such like a huge genre yet. I think Marley was still kind of up and coming, but you have this lead guitar, right, in this story that follows almost more of like a Western kind of structure. And then once you get to the chorus, it's almost like typical American kind of pop songwriting. You have a chorus. Once you then get to the guitar solos, though, man, it just follows this like incredible structure. And I think that's what makes Hotel California such a captivating song, is you listen to other great epics and, Stairway to Heaven has a very English feel to it. You can tell a bunch of British dudes wrote Stairway to Heaven. Or you listen to LaGrange, and LaGrange sounds like a bunch of dudes in Texas. You listen to Whipping Post, that's a Southern rock song. You listen to Sunshine of Your Love or White Room and things like that, and you can tell where they're from. But then you listen to Hotel California, and it almost has this worldliness to it, like this like traveler, which I think really adds to the emphasis of the story that they're telling. In whatever capacity it may be, whether it is about some kind of like Minotaur-esque beast or a satanic cult. I have an opinion about what Hotel California is. It's kind of dark, and maybe we can get into that off the episode. But in comparison, though, I love Take It Easy an equal amount of Hotel California. And it is because both of these songs are in the retail lexicon. If you've ever worked at a retail store, you have heard Take It Easy, maybe muffled, but this is one of those songs where the early Eagles, I'm going to say up until Hotel California, they had this ability to write these really organic sounding songs. Now, later down the road, a couple of these songs, they feel a little more, not processed, but structured. You listen to a song like Take It Easy, and it sounds like a bunch of dudes got in a room together and just wrote a song and then looked at it pen and paper style and said, hold on, how can we make this work even better? How can we put more thought into this? Actually, Take It Easy has one of my favorite lyrics of all time, one of my favorite lines, which is, it's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford slowing down to take a look at me. I think that is such a fantastic little line in a song about just being a traveler, existing in a place that you're not maybe meant to be, or maybe you're just passing through. The bass line in Take It Easy rips. Same thing with Hotel California. Hotel California does this really cool, it's this like reggae inspired bass line, but it's circular. So it's always kind of returning back into itself, which is so smart, because once you get to that solo and they start doing these like eighth notes, it's brilliant in the way it works. In Take It Easy, there's a banjo or a resonator, which is really cool. I wasn't expecting doing a deep dive listen to these songs. And the issue for this matchup for me is Hotel California is so good at being this epic, right? At feeling like this odyssey of a guitar track. Where Take It Easy, though, it feels so ingrained into my culture, but I really can't imagine picking one or the other. And so for me, this is a tie.
Cody, there are no ties in Album Fight Club. You have to pick one.
I'm not going to.
Oh, Cody, come on.
Because I don't like Hotel California enough to say it's better than Take It Easy. But I also don't like Take It Easy enough to say it's better than Hotel California. So one is, do I lean into the credibility of a song that has been spoken about ad nauseum? Or do I kind of take the retail road and go, oh, well, I've heard Take It Easy 10 million times. I could play the song right now. And for me, I think they both edge each other out in specific ways.
But Cody, there's a reason Shakespeare is Shakespeare. There's a reason Beethoven's Beethoven, because they're the greats. There's a reason Hotel California is Hotel California. Where Take It Easy is Take It Easy, and I love Take It Easy, and it's a great, perfect song, but it's not Hotel California, Well,
obviously, but Hotel California isn't Take It Easy.
But yeah, exactly, right? It's not the staple Eagles song. It's the staple rock song. Where Take It Easy, I mean, I could argue it's also a staple rock song. You're right in that, especially in a vacation town like we live in, you hear Take It Easy all the time.
Crusher.
It's those good vibes of just like being happy in a nice area, even though we're not in the best area possible. But I don't know. Two things I wanted to also mention about Hotel California is the intro guitar of just, man, that first couple, like, I don't know if there's, of course I'm like riding the moment right now, but I don't know if there's like a better guitar intro to a song. It's tough because it sets the mood. It sets the tone. It's amazing. It sounds incredible. It's vibey. And then that bass that comes in, oh dude, it's like the perfect little supplement to the guitar. And I mean, for me also, Hotel California just has more variation. It has more interesting things going on. Whereas Take It Easy is very simple. It's very standard. And that's not bad when it's a really good standard. But Hotel California is just a little more complex for me. And for all those reasons, I would take Hotel California.
I'm going to keep my tie. But I'm going to keep what you've said in mind. And maybe another matchup down the road will sway me. Because I think, personally, these are both exemplary showcases of the Eagles doing the two things that they do really well, which is, hey man, we're vibing, or we got some players in here. You want a solo? We'll write a guitar solo, man. I think that's what both of these songs showcase, and it being the same Eagles makes it hard for me to go, wait, hold on, I need to pick one of these. So maybe down the track list, something will sway me and I will reconsider my choice one way or the other.
But that's another thing too, is that this is a difficult matchup. I think this is a stacked episode of difficult matchups, for me at least. A lot of these are tough because it's two greatest hits albums. It's their best songs, compiled. So it's like some of these matchups are not easy for me at all. This next one, however, is, which is Witchy Woman versus Heartache Tonight. Now, here's the thing. Heartache Tonight is that vibey sort of like, hey, let's just make a good standard classic rock song. And it is good. It is standard classic radio rock. You hear it all the time.
Yes.
But bro, Witchy Woman is such a cool song, dude. It's so good.
The drums in the intro to Witchy Woman are unbelievable. Just, they sound so raw. And then you get that guitar, and the guitar sounds raw. And then you get the whole band comes in, and it's like, man, they boiled out. I say it all the time. It's like they boiled out the fat, and they just got right into. This is what I mean. Heartache Tonight, in a way, I'm sorry to cut you off. Heartache Tonight has a couple weird choices. Why is there a drum machine doing claps? That doesn't make sense to me. I get it. It's like the 80s. We figured out how to program drum machines. That's cool. But Witchy Woman feels more organic. Like, it feels like a bunch of people trusted where a song could go in understanding their parts as players and how to adapt those things. You've got these vocal harmonies that are crushing. The background singers are crushing. The guitar is playing perfectly. The bass is doing its thing. And there's not many Eagles songs where the bass is, the bass is often relegated to just like root note and a third, occasionally does something cool. But it feels like everybody is not only putting their best foot forward, but they're understanding their role in the musical context. Whereas Heartache Tonight feels like a bunch of people just playing their instruments. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to think that Heartache Tonight is on the second greatest hits.
Yeah.
It feels like it should be on their first album. It feels like a first album song. Like they wrote, this is one of the first songs they wrote. And it's funny to think that this is like 5 albums into their career, whichever one it. Yeah. You've got the pedigree and you make Heartache Tonight, and it's a good song and it's going to sell you records. It's going to probably go platinum, but like, it's kind of weird when there's so many other songs on volume 2 that are like so much better than Heartache Tonight. Another thing about Witchy Woman I want to say real quick. My fiance and I, Savannah, were just in Salem, Massachusetts, where, the Salem witch trials occurred. And the whole time, because I was listening to these songs in preparation for this episode, the whole time I was just like, man, Witchy Woman, dude, like just such a good song. And just like playing the just like stupid, I know, but like, it's just like when the Eagles do something really creative and different, because I don't really think there's a song that's like as comparable to Witchy Woman as a lot of these other songs are to each other, right? Take It Easy and Heartache Tonight, it sounds like the same band, pretty much. Witchy Woman almost doesn't even sound like the Eagles, but that's also why I like it so much, because it's so different, it's so unique, and it happens to be really great as well.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about the Volume 1 greatest hits is a lot of these songs are so unique that when I was doing the first listen through, I was like, wait, that's the Eagles? This song that I've heard for years is the Eagles? And I think that's really, and then you get to Volume 2 and it's like, okay, you can tell they kind of maybe found their structure. They found their gold mine in a way. But so how are you feeling about this matchup? Where you landing?
Witchy Woman for sure.
It has to be Witchy Woman.
This is one of the easiest matchups for me. They get harder from here, but this one, no, it's simple. It's a wash.
That's fair. So then that brings us to a very interesting matchup: the live version of Seven Bridges Road versus the recorded version of Lying Eyes. Mike, would you like to go first, or would you like for me to go first?
Cody, I'm actually interested in what you think, because you mentioned early on in the episode the whole harmonizing thing. And this was the song I was alluding to when I said there's a song that is like the staple harmonized song for the Eagles, which is Seven Bridges Road, which kind of feels like a Because moment by the Beatles for the Eagles, where Beatles, huh? That's interesting. Where it's like, hey, let's just do portions of this song where it's literally just us vocalizing. And it's really cool. I don't know why they chose the live version. Not that it's not a great version of it. They fucking killed it for a live version, but like, why? or maybe I'm just not well aware enough of like this version of the song and there's not a studio version, but it just seems odd to throw a live recording on the album.
I think it could be because I could see a song like this being a little boring in a recorded version. Having people in the background like hooting and hollering, cheering. At one point near the end, it's like my favorite live version thing I've ever heard in my life. There's a dude in the crowd who just goes, "Fuck yes!" And it made me laugh so hard because they could have just edited it out.
Yep.
And the way that it's like you hear him, he's in like the far right, just fuck yes, like it brought such a laugh out of me. What I really, really like about Seven Bridges Road, though, is that I think it really showcases the guitar playing acumen of the Eagles, right? But it's not flashy. It's just, man, we can be really in the pocket with each other. These two guitar players are just on it. I like that there's a mandolin. You don't get too much mandolin, and it's really quiet. It's far, far in the back. But there's this beautiful little mandolin that happens during the second verse, where in comparison to Lion Eyes, and we're not talking about lions as like the animals, lion as in like the act of deceiving.
And the apostrophe is there. There's no ing. It's lion.
Yeah, lion. You know, I like Lion Eyes, but honestly, I feel like this would be better as a Jimmy Buffett song. I really thought it was good. And then I started getting halfway through and I was like, why is this song 7 minutes? I looked at the track list and I said, there's no reason this song should be 6 minutes and 30 seconds. But they're pulling out the Eagles, tricks. Great vocal harmonies. There's a section in the second verse where I'm assuming it's Glenn Frey, I think, who sings she's thinking about a boy from school, and you get this like very brief Italian guitar. And that just made me smile. But I think that Seven Bridges Road in this matchup does a better example of showcasing the Eagles as the Eagles instead of like, oh, here's how we write a song, right? I think there's an issue with, you go back through the like early 70s to the beginning of the 80s, where I think a lot of bands maybe didn't realize that they don't need to write these big things. That you don't need to jam on a song for 6 minutes. You can just have it be cool. And I like that Seven Bridges Road is condensed. It showcases their skills. The vocal harmonies are beautiful. I like the mandolin. Lion Eyes is a good song, but for me, Seven Bridges Road just really stood out.
And you're right in that it really showcases the vocal talent of the Eagles. I mean, it's a staple harmonized rock song, ballad, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But dude, Lion Eyes? Come on, Cody, Lion Eyes, man. Oh man, this used to be my favorite Eagles song.
That is crazy.
I know, and it's now it's not anymore. We'll get to my new favorite after doing this whole re-listening to these albums. But for the longest time, man, I love Lion Eyes for a number of reasons. One, I think the writing is great. From a story narrative perspective, I really like what they're doing. They do that thing that not enough songs do, where they're telling a narrative, and then the chorus is different perspectives from different characters. Where the first one is the sort of sugar daddy this girl has. The second one is the boyfriend that, or the mistress, mate, whatever, the guy she's seeing on the side. And then the last one is, I think, her, if I'm not mistaken, saying you can't, I love that shit. I wish more bands would do that because it's a writing trick that I think is really creative, especially in an audible form. I think the chorus is amazing. It's one of those choruses that like every time it comes on, I'm singing it, which is a lot of Eagles choruses, to be fair. I mean, they have a ton of $1 million choruses, as we call them. But Lion Eyes might be one of my favorites. It's just something about it. You're totally right in that it gives off Jimmy Buffett vibes. This could totally be a Jimmy Buffett song, and I'd be like, yeah, I see it. But it's just, I don't know, man. It's just something about the way the song is structured, the way it works. The story it's telling, I think, is not the most unique story in the world, but the way they tell it, I think, is really interesting. It's a very clear journey that I follow the whole way through. Whereas Seven Bridges Road, again, it's a really cool vocal harmony song. But, you get the vocal harmony opening, you get the part where instruments come in, and then you close out with the vocal harmony opening again. It's like 1, 2, 3, done, right? Whereas Lion Eyes, yeah, it's a lot of the same stuff, but I just like the progression. I like the journey it takes me on. I'm actually going Lion Eyes with this matchup.
I respect that. I think just a little sidebar. I think one of the best songs that does like the Lion Eyes, kind of like telling a story from different perspectives, is "Scenes from an Italian Restaurant" by Billy Joel off of "The Stranger." We should do "The Stranger" versus 52nd Street, because
I was going to say 52nd Street for sure.
I don't know if I've ever told you this, Mike. Billy Joel is top 5 favorite artists ever for me.
He's great.
Yeah, I love Billy Joel.
Does Stranger have the longest time on it, or is that a different one?
That's not Nylon Curtain, but that's the record that like it comes a little bit after that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
just...
Billy Joel is the guy with like 9 greatest hits records. All of them are valuable or valid.
Yeah. In any event, back to the Eagles.
I guess we got to take a 7 Bridge Road back to this conversation.
Aha, yes. You can't deceive me with your Lion Eyes, Cody.
Oh, ow. All right.
I'm going to have to go Lion Eyes. You're going 7 Bridges Road. That's fine. So Already Gone versus Victim of Love is... I'm not sure if it's an easy or a difficult matchup for me, because Victim of Love in particular, I really like this song. And what's interesting is that it sort of feels like the first kind of hard rock song on Volume 2. It sort of has more of a grit and a punch to it than 7 Bridges, Heartache Tonight, and Hotel California. It's sort of, I don't really know how to explain it. It's like Eagles doing like hard rock, which is kind of cool. And I just think the song's pretty great in particular. But then again, you've got Already Gone, which is the same sort of take it easy thing where it's like everyone's heard this song, whether they know it or not, Already Gone. It's a song that is just like constant. It's a song that is constantly on radio, constantly in the airwaves. So is it a matter of taking the song kind of like I did with Hotel California? Is it the song that I take for the pedigree or the song that I like more what it's doing? Although Hotel California also had pedigree and I think what it was doing. I think in this matchup, I have to go Victim of Love. I just sort of like the grit and the punch to it. Whereas Already Gone is just more of the Eagles doing great Eagles stuff. Nothing wrong with that at all. But I think Victim of Love is just doing a little bit more interesting stuff.
See, Mike, that's very interesting because in my opinion, I think Already Gone really, really overshadows Victim of Love. Listening to Victim of Love, it kind of felt like the Eagles were attempting to do like Eliminator by ZZ Top, right? It has this kind of like Texas Western kind of like we're badass, but it really feels like to me they dropped the ball and it sounds like a song that like a nerd would come out to during their second act bad boy part in like a movie. Like a Nickelodeon movie. They'd walk out of like a doorway wearing like the Scotch leather jacket, like a pair of aviators, and then they'd take a puff of like a Marlboro Red 100 and cough their lungs out. That's what Victim of Love felt like. Where in comparison, because whoever's singing this song, is it Don McLean? No,
Don McLean is not.
He wrote American Pie. Who am I thinking of? He wrote Blues of Summer.
Don Henley, right?
Don Henley.
Yeah.
Don Henley does not have a voice that fits this kind of like mudhole stomping guitar riff that they're playing. And it's like, because you hear him start singing. No, he doesn't. He's got this weird, like, it's like kind of nasally higher voice. And it really threw me for a loop because I was like, the rest of the song sounds decent and this guy's going to start singing. And it's like, you're frail. You sound like a frail old man.
That's like saying Geddy Lee sounds like a frail old man.
Well, yeah, but Geddy Lee also rushes in writing songs that it sounds like you're about to walk into like a fist fight to.
I'm pretty sure. Whatever. I completely disagree with that. I think he sounds great on Victim of Love.
I disagree.
I think he complements the instrumental well. Well, why do you feel about Already Gone?
Oh, I love Already Gone. I think this is a song that I have written down. It's a pure unadulterated boot scooting boogie. I would go to a roadhouse and twirl somebody. Everybody in this song knows what's going on. And I like that it's kind of spiteful. Like, I like that it's got a little bit of edge to it, but it's not overplaying its hand by attempting to be this like AC/DC Def Leppard call and response thing where it's like guitar and then we're singing. Now here's a rhythm. Now we're singing. Like Already Gone is just like, yeah, fuck it, we're the Eagles, man. We sold 10 million copies of that last record. What are we going to do now? 10 million more.
And I totally see myself sitting in a Texas Roadhouse crunching peanuts while Already Gone is playing over the speakers. It's very much that vibe.
It does have like you're rolling into a place that doesn't have air conditioning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a small barbecue joint on the side of the road.
Yeah. Well,
Split again. This is pretty crazy. I didn't expect this coming into this episode. But that's how it be. So, Cody, Desperado versus the Sad Cafe. This might be easy for some. This is a hard matchup for me, but you apparently find it to be easy, so I'll let you go first.
Oh, dude. All right. Well, let me get Sad Cafe out of the way.
Oh, here we go.
I hate this fucking song.
Are you serious? Oh.
I am serious, and here's why. When I think of the Eagles, Mike, I don't think of like these weird, slow, meandering, like piano pop ballads. This song, here's the issue with Volume 2 that I have. Volume 1 feels like everybody got together and wrote these songs. Volume 2 feels like the Eagles lost their footing and then tried to usurp on a couple of these songs off of like the success of other bands. Sad Cafe, tell me if I'm wrong, Mike, is the American westernized version of fucking Breakfast in America by Supertramp. It's a decent song for any other band, but the Eagles, Mike, not even comparable. If this song was a person, I'd put it in a chokehold and give it a noogie, and not like the fun kind. I'd be like real rough. I'd put like a lot of extra knuckle in it. Like, get out of my house.
I will say I do love Breakfast in America. That's one of my favorite albums of all time. And I totally see where you're coming from. That it does sound like Supertramp, Breakfast in America era, sort of like keyboard stuff.
Yeah.
Well, then talk to me about Desperado.
Oh, this is a wonderful attempt at a piano ballad because it sounds like the Eagles. It feels like the Eagles. In a way, it's almost like if Sad Cafe sounded like Breakfast in America, this has like a Jackson Browne vibe, right? Which makes a lot more sense for the kind of stance that the Eagles had, right? Where it's like these like Western kind of influence, like not country, but like south of the Mason-Dixon line, I love the strings that come in. I love the fact that there are strings in this song near the middle and the end. It's so beautiful. I just think that if we're comparing the two, Desperado is a better attempt and it feels more honest than, like I said, almost kind of like, who was it? It was the Beach Boys released Pet Sounds, and then Paul McCartney was like, we need to, what was it, Abbey Road?
Because I think Sgt. Pepper came out before Pet Sounds did.
Mm-hmm.
And then Paul McCartney was so moved by Pet Sounds that he like sort of lit a fire under his ass, to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
And then like, but I don't remember the exact time. Anyway, right. But I see what you're getting at.
That's what this feels like. It feels like Supertramp maybe came around and then the Eagles said, oh no, there's someone going to take our top one spot. Now we need to do an attempt at this kind of like witty, bizarre piano thing. But the thing about Supertramp is that they weren't attempting to recreate success. They were just walking on it. Whereas Desperado feels like, okay, yeah, we wrote a song together, and I like that more.
Desperado is a perfect piano ballad. Not a damn thing wrong with it. It's iconic. It's phenomenal. The strings that come in, you're right, are beautiful. As far as rock piano ballads are concerned, Desperado is certainly up there. But Cody, I got to tell you something, because Sad Cafe is not a Eagles song that's like super popular. In fact, when I sort of like did this re-listen, I kind of forgot the Sad Cafe even existed. And I was like, what? Oh, this song, right. I had one of those nights last night where it's one of those insomnia nights where I try to go to bed at 11 and I'm up till like 3 a.m. tossing and turning in bed.
The worst.
The worst, right? Guess what was playing in my head on repeat for 4 hours straight?
Don't say the Sad Cafe.
It was the Sad Cafe.
Brother, that's a fate worse than hell.
I don't even know why. Like, it was just stuck in my head all night. Of all these songs we're talking about, the Sad Cafe was the one that was stuck in my head. And part of me thinks that the reason why is that I kind of just like vibe with it so much. You're right. It doesn't feel like Eagles. I see where you're coming from, where it feels like Supertramp, but fuck, like something about it just like hits me, and I like it. I love it in some regards. And maybe it's because I kind of like what everyone's doing on their various instruments. I like the vocal subtlety. I like the sort of direction of it. Again, it's not catchy offhandedly, except for the fact that it was literally stuck in my head for 4 hours and I couldn't get it out of my head. Desperado didn't do that, right? Desperado didn't, and I don't think the Sad Cafe kept me up per se, right? But it was one of those things where I was up for a long time and my brain wouldn't shut off for whatever reason. And part of that was because I couldn't stop playing the Sad Cafe in my head. Cody, I'm breaking barriers here. I'm going Sad Cafe. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's okay. What's the very famous like parody movie where it's the guy, he's like the POW and he gets pulled up to the I think it's supposed to be like a Vietnamese dictator. And he's like, you can do anything to me. I won't break. And the guy's like, send him to Detroit. And he's like, no, anything but that. That's how I feel about Sad Cafe. I'm like, that's why I kept you up at night.
Are you saying Sad Cafe is the worst song on both these records?
Ooh, maybe.
Because I think there's one later on that's, for me, the worst.
I'm going to have to, I'm not going to go that far yet, but I will readjust.
Okay. So then, one of these nights versus Life in the Fast Lane. Cody, talk to me about that bass opening one of these nights.
Oh, it is. So I'm gonna really speak on these for a moment. One of these nights is a song that I think actually it's one of the rarefied songs that breaks out of just being a band's song, and I think it gets into your soul. The guitar that's happening is outstanding. The bass intro is it moves me every single time I hear it, because it's cool to hear something unique on a song that is a big song. You know, it's just like it does the same thing that the intro to Take It Away does by Red Hot Chili Peppers, where it's like, dude, Flea comes in and you're in. You were on with the song. I really love how they kind of sell into this almost like, it feels dramatic in a way. These guitar tone and the slide guitar that they have is beautiful. The other thing that I really like, I love that they push the female background vocals forward. I think that's beautiful. And I love that the guitar solo that happens is a fuzz guitar, but it's not overly fuzzy. It's not like White Stripes fuzz. It's really zippy. And that is so awesome to hear. Because a lot of the time when you get fuzz guitar, you get like the sleep kind of real big. You know, you're dropping to like C sharp and you're doing all this stuff. But I like that it's just like, yeah, it's a fuzz guitar. It's a cool pedal. In comparison, though, dude, you want to talk about Life in the Fast Lane? This is my favorite Eagles song by far. This is one of my favorite songs ever written. And it is because, and I'm going to get sentimental and you're going to deal with it, Mike. When I was a kid, my dad and I went to the Hard Rock, or the Hard Rock amusement park that they had in Myrtle Beach. It existed for like 5 years. And they had a roller coaster dedicated to Life in the Fast Lane. And any time, this was right at the time I was getting into music, finding my own musical identity. So I just listened to Thursday and Into It Over It and Touche Amore and Pink Floyd, and it was all happening. But the bump that sticks in my head every single time. And yet, lyrics a little cheesy. He was a cruel dude. That's a goofy line. But man, the rest of the song sells it. Perfect, like hard rock. Not like hard rock, but like a step above your traditional kind of like normal rock and roll song. There's a section near the end where the guitar and the bass, they both do this like silly little high note run. It's wild. But what I love about this song is that this is one of the few moments on volume 2 where it doesn't feel like it was processed. Like it doesn't feel like stockholders got a hold of it. It feels like somebody had like 4 Miller Lights or had 4 Miller High Lifes and said, I wrote this riff, played the riff, and everybody just had fun with it. Keyboard in the background's awesome. Vocals, awesome. This is a song that Don Fry sounds good on. And I like this song. So I think in comparison to the kind of moody, I don't want to say sexiness, but in the moody kind of like romantic atmosphere of One of These Nights, for my own personal preference, Life in the Fast Lane. And it's just balls to the wall approach at just fun songwriting really takes it.
Life in the Fast Lane is killer as shit, dude. It is like iconic level status rock song. It's great. The second it comes on to the second it ends. And in fact, Life in the Fast Lane was my favorite song, like growing up with the Eagles when like my mom would play it and I was in high school, and like Life in the Fast Lane was always the song that stuck out to me. Cody. Remember I told you earlier that redoing this exercise with these albums, I had a new favorite Eagles song, and guess what that song is?
I mean, dude, One of These Nights though, right? It's not like you're saying Yellow Submarine is better than like A Day in the Life. You're not like pulling out like the hot take on me.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I totally respect your opinion. I think I see it. And if I wasn't so unbelievably sentimental about such a good memory of riding this roller coaster, I think One of These Nights might take it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the fact that Life in the Fast Lane is so fun. And dude, it's so hard to find just like a fun song. Just like, man, we're putting the top down and we're just going to go drive around like downtown for 20 minutes. Whatever. Who cares? Tell me about the One of These Nights.
Yeah. So, I mean, arguably, these are both 10 out of 10 songs. I don't have a single problem with Life in the Fast Lane at all. But what was funny with this re-listening exercise is that One of These Nights just like hit me so hard. It's like I had never heard that bass opening before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard it again and I was like, holy shit, like Jesus. And then just having the guitar just like, bing, boom, 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 bing, like that. So I'm like, oh yeah. And then just, it's that Eagles approach. They know what to do on maybe not every song, but they know what to do when they've got a good established like propulsion riff, which Life in the Fast Lane has it. One of These Nights has it. It's like they just know exactly how to sit on top of it with the vocal pattern. And probably my favorite chorus in the Eagles catalog, just the whole buildup of One of These Nights, and then just like back into it. Man, It gets me every time. It's so good. It's just the song out of all 20 of these songs, it's the one I want to go back to the most. Whereas I want to revisit all these. Well, there's one I don't. All of these songs I want to revisit because I think they're all pretty great. But One of These Nights sits at the top for me for sure, where it's like, man, I'd listen to that like every other day and be cool with it. Goes into a playlist of like Mike's favorite songs kind of song, you know? Whereas Life in the Fast Lane is certainly a great song, fantastic Eagles song, just doesn't quite sit in that Mike's favorite songs of all time thing, whereas One of These Nights is kind of edging into that territory. So I have to give the edge there.
I respect that. You know, Mike, it is entirely possible that you maybe have not heard that bass intro because this is one of those songs, like I mentioned earlier, that's in the retail Rolodex.
Mm-hmm.
Retail store speakers are not tuned to showcase low end. They're only tuned for like low, mid, up, which is why you get a lot of guitar sounds, which is why you'll because they don't want like, say they don't want, Kanye West to put out a new song and then that sub bass shake product. So it is entirely possible that you've never heard that. You've never like paid attention to the intro because a lot of the times it's cut out. They'll usually start the song with the da 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 one of these nights.
Mm-hmm.
So
Could totally be. Yeah.
that's what I think it is. I think this might have just been like, oh yeah. It's like hearing that secret solo that got put out of whatever Beatles song that was. Not a Day in the Life. But yeah. There's a secret George Harrison solo that's like mixed out. It's there in the track, but they like bumped it real low.
Huh.
Yeah.
Not familiar at the top of my head. But in any event, we are once again split. We haven't agreed on anything except Witchy Woman, which was track 2. We're now on track 7. Yeah, track 7 matchup, which is Tequila Sunrise versus I Can't Tell You Why. Here is my least favorite Eagles song on these records, and that would be I Can't Tell You Why. And the reason why, because I can totally tell you why. The reason why is because it's a Smokey Robinson song. It's not an Eagles song. It's like, who hired Smokey Robinson to come in and do this? Now, is that a bad song? No. I don't think it's a bad song per se, but when you're talking about the Eagles, this is where you think Sad Cafe is not the Eagles. This to me is not the Eagles at all. If I had Smokey Robinson's greatest hits or some Motown person on this, I'd probably love it. But that's not what I'm coming here for. I'm coming here for the Eagles, and this ain't it, my dude. Tequila Sunrise kind of just takes it by proxy, right? And Tequila Sunrise is already a pretty great song to begin with. So This is another washout for me.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that you just said. It is strange to hear that kind of inner city Motown vibe that comes out of left field on the Volume 2 track list. Because everything else, like, yeah, it's sure the Eagles, I can get it. But then it's like, man, who accidentally put on What's Going On by Marvin Gaye? Like, who accidentally walked into the Motown studio and said, oh, hold on, put the Eagles in. I will admit, though, the Electric Keys and I Can't Tell You Why are really, really nice. I have written down that I bet this song was popular with like weddings. I bet this was a song that, like, it's like 9:30 at night. All the kids are gone home now, and it's just like drunk adults all doing the dance circle, just slow dancing. Yeah. I really liked about this song that it felt like the Eagles were acting like the band, like not a band, but the band playing for Dylan, with them playing for Smokey Robinson, where it was like, you can tell it's the Eagles. Just like you listen to those Bob Dylan records and you can tell it's the band, right? But it's cool to hear somebody else at the front of it. But in comparison, dude, Tequila Sunrise, I mean, you want to talk about a band being on. This is it. You want to talk about nailing down that kind of like, not lackadaisical, but like easygoing guitar music feel. This song, in a way, felt like it could have been the sequel to Big Iron, where it's like, yeah, he wears the big iron on his hip. What do you do after he like got into a gunfight? Hey, he went down like the local tavern, had a tequila sunrise.
It is like quintessential bar on the beach music.
Yeah, but they do some funny things though, like in between, right before the chorus, there's like this little hi-hat run. That dude came out of nowhere for me. I was listening to the song and I was like, okay, I know what's going to happen. It's Tequila Sunrise. It's like this hi-hat triplet. And I was like, who made that call? Who threw this on here? I actually have, this is the kind of song that you would roll a joint to at a state park or a wedding. And you would just sit on the back of like your friend's old Buick and just like, yeah, it's playing through the speakers, but no one's in the car. So yeah. I love Tequila Sunrise. It's Tequila Sunrise without a shadow of a doubt.
We finally agree again.
I would like a virgin Tequila Sunrise, which means hold the sunrise. Just give me some Cuervo.
I hate tequila.
That is a sober Cody joke.
Tequila is awful. Don't drink it.
Where's Nikki?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Downs them. Take It to the Limit versus New Kid in Town. It's another difficult one for me, at least for me, which is that you've got, again, two iconic Eagles songs going up against each other, which is kind of the difficulty of doing two greatest hits, but also the pleasure of doing two greatest hits, is that pretty much every song here is great. So it's kind of hard to pick one in some cases, pick one over the other. Take It to the Limit has like that power chorus without having a lot of like heavy, loud instrumentation. But the vocals, man, they just like soar. And it's one of those like concert stadium arena venue songs where like everybody in there is going to scream, take it to the limit. Like everybody in there is going to say that, and it's going to like rattle everything around it, which is really cool. But New Kid in Town, what's interesting is that this is on Hotel California, the album. And when you look at Hotel California as an album, I mean, the songs we've talked about so far that are on Hotel California, the song, obviously Hotel California, Victim of Love, Life in the Fast Lane, and New Kid in Town, which are like 4 eclectic, varied, different songs. I mean, Victim of Love and Life in the Fast Lane kind of sound similar, but when you take those 4 together as a group, I think it's a really strange palette.
Yeah.
But that's also respectable that that album could like pull that off and do it well. New Kid in Town is great. I don't really know like what to say beyond the fact that it's another great Eagles song. Cody, I'd like to hear what you can bring to this.
Oh man, honestly, dude, Take It to the Limit is probably my least favorite song off of Volume 1.
Oh, okay.
Entirely. I like it, but it just didn't land. It didn't land like I want the Eagles to land. It felt like a lackluster Sandals commercial. Whereas like for example, if like Tequila Sunrise, yeah, the vibe is easy with it. Take It to the Limit, I was like, I feel like I'd have to try and like this song. I would slow dance at a bar to it, but I'd have to like it. Someone would have to like coerce me into it. Whereas we get to New Kid in Town, and once again, I love the keyboards. I love that they're like making these interesting choices with these instruments. I have written down, my name is Rango Del Mar, and I just rolled into town kind of vibe. I just love
New Kid in Town.
Yeah. But if you listen to the lyrics, it feels like this is a song about coming home as someone different. Like leaving and you move away for 4 or 5 years and you come home and it's like, oh yeah, that's Cody Constantine. How have you been? Oh, you did a whole bunch of cool things. Or that's Mike Cain. What did you do? You started in a one-man show. That's fucking crazy. I remember when you were whatever you were before. Mm-hmm. And I think the New Kid in Town sells it. I like that there's an organ in the background. Anytime an organ pops up, I smile because organs are ridiculous. And then finally, there's that cool little lead section that pops up every once in a while where it's like these octave chords and then a third, but going back into the meandering feeling. Take It to the Limit is good. New Kid in Town is just better out of these two.
I will agree. I like Take It Easy, or rather not Take It Easy, Take It to the Limit more than you do. Least favorite song in Volume 1. I don't know if I'd go that far, for me at least. But I do like that song. But you're right in that New Kid in Town, I think, is just ostensibly better. So I'm fair with giving New Kid in Town the edge as well.
Cool. Hey, we're starting to agree on a couple things.
We will see how it goes, because I'm really interested in this next one. Peaceful, Easy Feeling versus The Long Run. Now, Peaceful, Easy Feeling, to me, is another Tequila Sunrise, which is very mellow, relaxed, on the beach, sipping your drink. The sun is setting. You got that peaceful, easy feeling, dude. And it's a great feeling. It's a really great feeling. But it is not The Long Run, which to me, in this particular matchup, very much edges over Peaceful, Easy Feeling. Because by the time we hit track 9 on Volume 1, I'm like, okay, like we're hitting that lull of like, I feel like I've heard this song already, right? Tequila Sunrise already did this, which is not to say it's bad, because I don't think really any of these songs are bad per se. But by the time I get to Peaceful, Easy Feeling, I'm just kind of like, okay, like I'm kind of hitting this lull. Whereas The Long Run comes in at track 9, and he comes in with that, I used to hurry a lot, I used to worry a lot. And I'm just like, whoa, who is this? Because right before it, you had New Kid in Town, which is a slower, quieter sort of song. And man, like The Long Run is exactly what I needed. And then in the long run, like, oh man, dude, like just took me to places I wanted to go. And so for me, The Long Run takes this pretty easily, actually.
You have me reconsidering now.
Oh, okay. Now, were you originally on Peaceful Easy Feeling?
I was.
Okay. It's like if Peaceful Easy Feeling were track number 2, I may feel differently. But putting it at 9 in the track list, it's like it sort of is not the jolt of energy I need. Long Run is a fucking like bolt of energy, for me at least. And I like the song more anyway. If it was, Peaceful Easy Feeling were track number 2 and Long Run were number 9, I would still choose The Long Run, even if Peaceful Easy Feeling were at number 2 in the track list. But the fact that it's also at number 9, that also is making it worse for me in that sort of like progression of the album.
I think I'm going to keep with Peaceful Easy Feeling.
Okay.
Because either way, I like that the Eagles, it's not that like it's a lack of energy. It's just the energy is being more translated towards like just hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I think my issue with The Long Run is that honestly, like, the Later Day Eagles kind of suck. Like, in my opinion, they either land super hard and they nail it, or it's like, what are we doing? Where did like the chemistry go? And that's what's.
You don't think there's chemistry on The Long Run?
I don't think it's real.
Wow.
It feels forced. Whereas Peaceful Easy Feeling, once again, that feels like people got together and actually wrote it instead of someone brought a song. That's how I would say Volume 1 is. People got together and said, we're going to do the circle and we're going to come together and write a song instead of someone going, oh, I wrote a song, play it. Here's how I want you to play it, instead of what suggestions do you have? And that's not to say, I mean, obviously it has to go without being said. The Long Run could be any other band's. It could be 38 Special's biggest song. It's just, since we're talking about the Eagles, am I taking a better Eagles song over a good kind of like bar band song? And here's my other issue with Volume 2. There's a lot of songs about romance. Volume 1 has it. Volume 2 has a lot of songs about like uneasy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of that. It got to me because I was like, write about something new. I'm begging you, man. Just like give me anything. Because you start out the record, right, with fucking Hotel California, a song about maybe human trafficking. That's what I think the song's about. A song about a satanic cult, and then whatever rest of songs. Hey, he was a cruel dude. This relationship isn't healthy. This relationship isn't healthy. This relationship isn't healthy. Do something new. So I'm going to stick with Peaceful Easy Feeling.
Okay. Fair enough. Which brings us to the last matchup. Best of My Love versus After the Thrill Is Gone. Which, Cody, you just complained about relationships not working. That's both these songs. You get a double feature.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, relationships not working. With that being said, though, it's funny because Savannah and I, we got engaged about a month ago at this point, and we've started planning this wedding. And I told her that, the Best of My Love by the Eagles would be such a great wedding, like slow dance song if it wasn't about what it's about, which is this dude sort of like lost the love and he wants her back. And so she gets the best of his love because like he misses her so much. But it doesn't sound like that. And when you take the chorus on its own, it sounds like it's a song about you and your partner, and she gets the best of your love because you love her so much and she's your everything and you're going to spend the rest of your life with her. So I was like, man, I would love to throw this song in the wedding playlist, but like, it's just not, if anyone listens to the lyrics, they'll be like, why is this song here? Like,
yeah,
this is not the mood we're supposed to be setting. After the Thrill Is Gone, it's good. It is good, but we're at track 10. We're at the bottom of these albums at this point. And by the time I got to After the Thrill Is Gone, I was just like, yeah, the thrill is gone. You're right. I'm kind of over this. I'm kind of done. Whereas Best of My Love, I also was kind of feeling that because they saved like 2 slow songs for the end. I'm like, that's not what right. You should have ended maybe with like Life in the Fast Lane or something.
Yeah.
But they didn't. I would give the edge to Best of My Love because to put it simply at a base level, I just kind of like the way it sounds more. That's kind of what this boils down to. Because honestly, at the end of both these records, I was kind of just like not falling asleep. It's not like these songs are bad. I like both these songs. But man, to end with like your slowest, it feels like songs, it's like, I don't know if that was the move.
I totally agree. I dislike After the Thrill Is Gone. Just entirely. It did nothing for me. It is interesting how they end both of these with songs about like issues in relationships. What I like about Best of My Love is, first off, the instrumental made me want to move out to Wyoming and work on a ranch. I loved it so much. I was like, it's such a fantastic, just like driving down a dirt road kind of vibe. Like I said before, and like this is really where it kind of came to a head for me about this opinion. It feels like all of the songs that came pre-Hotel California, and then even maybe Hotel California, were workshopped so much better. Because I think Best of My Love, it does feel more organic. The harmonies are there and they feel honest. They feel like people put thought into the note structure, the patterns. Whereas After the Thrill Is Gone, it just feels like someone brought a song in and said, this is what we're playing. And I even have written down, imagine writing Hotel California and then this. Like, there's not even, how could you lose it this bad? And, we have hindsight and we can look at the history of the Eagles and know that they hated each other. Everybody hated each other for, the better part of like a decade. But just even if you just put them stack by stack, Best of My Love just feels so much more honest in comparison to After the Thrill Is Gone, even if they're both about a similar subject matter.
I agree.
Yeah.
And thus concludes the track v track, which interestingly, the breakdown of which is that I went 5 on volume 1 and 5 on volume 2. I am split down the middle.
Respect that.
Cody, you are far from it. You are 6 for volume 1 and 3 for volume 2. And the reason that you only did 9 is because with track 1, you decided to not vote. Which is fine. It's okay, I guess. But you still were lopsided towards... Percy, don't do that. You were still lopsided towards volume 1. So even if you did vote Hotel California, it would still give the edge to volume 1 in that regard.
Let me try and sway you.
Sway me for what?
For volume 1. Because if you're 5 for 5, let me try and sway you.
Okay, go ahead.
Later Day Eagles does not have what I believe is the love for music that original volume 1 Eagles has. If you listen to every song on volume 1, they all feel like somebody put a lot of thought and care into writing those songs. Everybody in the Eagles felt invested on every song from volume 1. Volume 2, you get these beautiful moments of success, but then it feels like a band that hates each other. Like, it feels like they didn't talk about the music. Instead, they said, oh, we're making this much money. We've sold this many records. Every song, for the most part, on volume 1 stands on their own accord. Volume 2, it's kind of weird. There's a live version. Why? Why is there a live version? I mean, granted, I chose Seven Bridges Road, but if you took that guy in the background going, "Fuck yeah, Al," I might have chose Lion Eyes. I think that Volume 1 Eagles is the beautiful thing about music, which is you get a bunch of people together and you create something bigger than yourself. Volume 2 feels like all of us are going to have successful solo careers. We just have to edge each other out.
Well said, Cody. What I was going to say prior to that is that if I did have to choose between these two, I would go volume 1. I think volume 1 at the end of the day is just a better collection of songs, even though I went 5 for 5. Volume 1 does not have I Can't Tell You Why on it, which gives it huge bonuses. Admittedly, from your perspective, it does have Sad Cafe. I really like Sad Cafe. I don't know what to say. But at the end of the day, if I had to strike one of these from existence, I would strike Volume 2. Which is tough to say, though, because Hotel California is on Volume 2. Life in the Fast Lane's on Volume 2. I don't know. But that's all to say that what I think is clear about these two greatest hits records is that they indeed are greatest hits records, in that I like a lot of these songs. I love a lot of these songs. I think they're both really good greatest hit comps, even if Volume 2 feels more stagnant or feels less inspired. I still think it's a good comp of pretty good songs at the end of the day. It just speaks to how good of a band the Eagles were.
Yeah, I can absolutely attest to that. And I think if you're going to take anything away from this, listen to both of these and really deep dive into structure. You know, I think you should be able to learn something from every record that you listen to, whether that be like a personal thing or you know, you use something maybe in your musical career or your arts career, whatever. I think that it's amazing to hear these songs kind of get boiled down into pop structure, but in really innovative ways. And sure, I might have shit on Volume 2, but it's still the Eagles. They're one of the best-selling bands of all time. You know, just because Cody Constantine is like, Volume 2 is bad, doesn't mean it's a bad compilation of records or bad compilation of songs. It just doesn't hit the exact same point of enjoyment that Volume 1 does.
Indeed. And it's weird that, not to say other bands haven't done multiple greatest hits records. I mean, Aerosmith, I feel like, has 20. But you think of like the iconic greatest hits records like Legend, Bob Marley, Mayhaps, Echoes, Pink Floyd. But what's funny is that it's usually just like one iconic greatest hits record for a group or an artist, etc. And then you look at the Eagles and they technically have 2, but then they have the complete Eagles, which is just like a bunch of, it's all these songs and other songs. So I don't know. It's interesting that they have multiple greatest hits, and I go, yeah, that, you know, Volume 1 and Volume 2, in my opinion, feels warranted. Yeah. Whereas if Bob Marley did like 2 greatest hits records, I'd be like, is that really necessary?
Yeah. So it is. I want to talk about that really quickly again. It is amazing that there are so few bands that actually have like multiple iconic greatest hits. Yeah, there's Echoes, there's Legend by Bob Marley, there's there's that Rolling Stones one. Beatles have one.
Yeah, the album one.
It's interesting that, and also too, for a long time, the first Eagles greatest hits was like the best selling record of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like usurped Thriller. Straight up, just was like, this is the best selling record of all time, which is crazy to think about. What I imagine happened, honestly, they wrote Hotel California, and then somebody said, "Oh, we can make more money off this bad boy."
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have just waited 2 years.
They were like, yeah, they released the greatest hits, then make Hotel California. They're like, bro, what the hell was that? Like, yeah. We thought you were done. We thought you hit your peak.
Mm-hmm. It's like I mentioned the Foo Fighters earlier. In my opinion, the best Foo Fighters record is Wasting Light. And it's ridiculous that they have a whole greatest hits record before that, and then you release Wasting Light, which is, oh yeah, we're just a garage band again. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of bands releasing greatest hits records like in the midpoint of their career. I think it's just kind of weird, honestly. But we literally just talked for an hour about a band that did it twice and then kept making more records. So what do I know?
What do we know together? I don't know.
All we know is that we are Album Fight Club. We appreciate you being here. And until next time, do take care.
Be well.